2, 1.
Good morning and welcome to KSAT News Now. On a Friday, we have made it to the end of the week. Thank you very much for spending part of your morning with us.
And it's off to a great start this show because David Sears is in the background dancing. He loves the intro music to the show. And every time he can, he dances.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Well, David.
Yeah, David is, he's like half a live audience for us today. We are in our newsroom, but he's also got a very, very important job today.
The most important, I think.
Probably, yes. Because you're going to be working with Justin Horn here in just a little bit.
Yeah, pushing all his buttons. So.
And we're pushing buttons for a good reason, not pushing buttons in any sort of bad way.
Yeah, no. All right, but there's a big question. Why is there a big stink at the San Antonio Zoo?
Yes, we're going to be talking about this here in just a bit. I have some pretty interesting things going on at our zoo, and I don't want to spoil too much, but like you said, it's going to be kind of a smelly, foul situation.
Yeah, hold your breath.
There you go. That's a good way to put it. But also, the reason we're talking about Justin and David's assistance today is because Justin is actually live at the Guadalupe River this morning, and he's going to firsthand look at the water levels there.
Yeah.
A lot of discussion about some very low water flow rates along a lot of South Texas rivers.
Yeah, that drought is really just kicking our butts.
It is, in many ways than one. Plus, we are also expected to get some pretty severe heat this weekend.
No, definitely. It is. It's all, I don't even know what it is outside. How many degrees? Probably.
It's hot. That's all we know.
Humid and hot.
Yeah.
All right.
That's all we know. It's very, very hot out there.
But first, let's start with our news. We start with the latest on border security and whether Governor Greg Abbott's whether he's testing the limits of state authority.
That's right. On Thursday, Governor Greg Abbott escalated security efforts at the border. But here's the thing. He might be stepping on the federal government's toes. Abbott issued an executive order that allows state authorities to return migrants to border crossings.
All right. So this order gives Texas military and DPS troopers the green light to bring migrants to the ports of entry. But the enforcement of that, which is the immigration law, is actually the responsibility of federal authorities. So could Abbott's executive order lead to a clash between state and federal agencies?
That is a big question this morning. The governor has not clarified what would happen after the undocumented immigrants are taken to the ports of entry, as those are manned by Customs Border Protection, or CBP. The White House has criticized the move and are now basically asking for the Justice Department to step in.
Yeah, so the ones asking for the Department of Justice to step in are going to be your nonprofits, really immigration advocacy rights groups. So this morning, the White House spokesperson Abdullah Hassan released the following statement to KSAT that reads in part, quote, Governor Abbott's record on immigration doesn't give us confidence in what he has cooked up now. His so-called Operation Lone Star put National Guardsmen and law enforcement in dangerous situations and resulted in logistical nightmare needing federal rescue. And his secondary inspections of truck crossings into Texas cost billions of dollars a week in trade at one bridge alone without turning up a single case of human or drug trafficking, end quote.
And we have that full statement right now from the White House on KSAT.com and basically the latest developments. Alicia, you've been doing a lot of reporting there along the border over the past weeks, months. So kind of what's your general assessment about sort of this back and forth? I was reading earlier that this may not even be legal. I guess there's legal experts that are looking into this.
Absolutely, because there's a big confusion. How much can your state authorities do? If you've ever been to a port of entry, you know that once you're in that area, no cameras, not even pulling out your cell phone, because this is federal jurisdiction, right? So they're very careful on what they do. So it is a little confusing on when these state authorities are going to drop off these migrants, similar to what the sheriff in Kinney County admitted to doing about a week or two ago. What do they do? Are they going to force them? Because it's different. They can drop them off, but it doesn't say anything about expelling. So that's the deportation part, right?
Right.
So are they going to wait for them? Does this put other people at risk? it's just a lot of confusion right now. So there is some clarification that needs to happen.
Absolutely. And you remember the governor spoke out against the Biden administration, saying that we're seeing more cases of what we saw here with the migrant trailer because of some of these issues there along the border. So as you said, a lot of confusion, and we will continue to follow this story.
All right, but in Uvalde, we're hearing from the families of survivors of the shooting who say they have not received enough financial help from the state.
That's right. We spoke with the parents of a student who was shot in the leg and must go through physical therapy and counseling. And they tell us that the only financial assistance that they've received since the shooting at Robb Elementary is $1,400 for lost wages. They said that the money helped a little bit, but it's not nearly enough to live off for the time being.
Our savings is already gone, almost gone. So I mean, like I was saying earlier, I gotta get back to work.
All that money, like I explained to you, I would give it all just to have my son back to normal and not go through this.
$1,400 of lost wages.
Right.
I mean, you think it's been more than a month now. And obviously they did not receive that money immediately, or likely did not. And to be struggling when there's been such an outpouring of support is just...
Right, and something that we didn't mention here, but this is in the story that John Paul Barajas did on our website, where basically the family was saying that they obviously have had a hard time going back to work since this happened and caring for their young victim there. So yeah, it's hard to believe that that's the little bit of compensation that we've seen so far there.
So State Senator Roland Gutierrez said this money came from the Victims of Crime Act. That's a state compensation fund. Gutierrez and Uvalde Mayor Don McLaughlin sent Governor Abbott a letter this week asking for the state to take over the victim services for Uvalde County District Attorney Christina Mitchell Busby.
That's right. That letter states that, quote, the district attorney's office is not equipped or staffed to provide these services. Gutierrez said that the Robb Elementary School Fund, remember, a lot of people have been donating to that, but that will not be distributed to the victims until the earliest in August or September. And I did have have one of the family members of one of the victims reach out to me, and she basically showed me kind of the application process for that. So they're just starting that. I mean, so you could imagine there's just this backlog of those requests, and now with these other victims trying to get compensated.
Which is sad to see, but hopefully that gets figured out.
Yeah.
All right, so we do have some shocking international news. The world is reacting to the assassination of Japan's longest-serving Prime Minister, Shinzo Abe.
Yeah, Shinzo Abe was shot twice during a campaign speech on Friday, and so what we were hearing, or reports were that about 20 doctors tried to save his life, but he was later pronounced dead at the hospital. So the suspect is a man in his 40s, and he was arrested at the scene.
Abe was a towering figure on the global stage. San Antonio Mayor Ron Yerberg shared his condolences this morning. He tweeted that he strengthened important ties between the U.S. and Japan during his leadership. That includes a relationship between San Antonio and Kumamoto?
Yeah, Kumamoto. Yeah.
Kumamoto, which have been sister cities since 1987. So there's strong ties there.
Yeah, absolutely. And in just seeing some reaction from world leaders, not just with the United States, this was a former prime minister who absolutely tried to strengthen ties and relationships with several countries around the world. And to think that a leader of this fashion to be assassinated in this day and age, I mean, it's not completely surprising, but it's been decades since a world leader of this stature has been assassinated in public like this.
Yeah, I think the other shocking part is with these big events, we always see it play out on social media. So I remember seeing, the images, very graphic images circulating yesterday, and then unfortunately woke up to the news this morning that he had passed away.
Yeah. So a lot of reaction there to that story. And you know what, Alicia, we are going to switch now a little bit to weather, because as we mentioned off the top of KSAT News Now, it has been very hot.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, so with the heat and humidity, it's just really bad. This morning I already got an alert from CPS making sure to remind people on how they can save energy. And some of those things are as simple, which I actually did this morning, unplug everything. So your microwave, because they call it vampire energy.
Right, yeah.
So it's
they're
still
sucking energy even though they're not on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So those are things to keep in mind. Also, check on your elders
Yes.
and people who, you know, I say this all the time, that don't have central AC. So,
Stay hydrated. Of course, that is a big thing here. But speaking of water and everything that goes along with it, we're going to check in now with Justin Horn. He is doing our weather today from the Guadalupe River. Of course, Justin, this is a very popular river destination for a lot of people in our area. But as we can see behind you, man, what's up with the flow out there? There's nothing.
Rocks.
Yes, rocks.
Hey there, guys. We're out here on the Guadalupe River. We decided to come out today to see what was going on with the river because we've been reporting the last couple of days how dry it is, right? So we wanted to see for ourselves. We thought it'd be a good day. I'm not sure that it is. It's so incredibly hot. I was just checking my temperature gauge here. It says it's 99. Granted, we're standing in the sun, but I can assure you it is hot and it is humid. Probably feels a little bit warmer than that. Not a lot of people out here on the Guadalupe River. We're out near Spring Branch, just west of 281, and I'll show you what we're seeing behind us here. The river isn't dried up, okay? We want to point that out. There's still water in the river. It's just not flowing. So the gauge around where we are is measuring 0 stream flow. What does that mean? Well, you can't really tube or kayak. I mean, you can do a little bit of it, but you're going to have to pick it up a lot of times and walk because there's dry spots, and that flow stays reduced all the way until you get to Canyon Lake. Now, on the flip side of Canyon Lake, where they release water from the dam, there is still flow. So if you have plans to do some tubing this weekend, it is going to be hot, then there is still a flow there around New Braunfels, the Guadalupe, and of course the Comau. It's slow, but there is flow there. So this is just indicative of the drought. This is what we're dealing with. And unfortunately, it looks like there's more to come. There's a small glimmer of hope this weekend and next week maybe for some rain, but it's not going to be enough to fill up our streams and lakes. So let's jump into the forecast and get you set for what's going on this weekend because there is some dangerous heat. We need to point that out. Heat advisories in effect today. This is going to go through 8 p.m. tonight. And basically it's the entire area, maybe not the hill country, but temperatures will be anywhere from 100 to 104. The heat index could be as high as 108. So that's where you get into that danger territory. That's why we have heat advisories, and they will be extended for sure through the weekend. As we look at the forecast temperatures for today, 102 is what we're thinking here in San Antonio. It'll feel again more like 104, 105 when you factor in this humidity, and it is pretty thick out here, I can tell you that. 99 degrees in Lakey, 103, the high in Uvalde, 103 in San Marcos, so a hot day all the way around. Now, let's take a look ahead as far as the heat index is concerned, and this is why we have those heat advisories going through the weekend. You see the heat index getting as high as 108 on Sunday. That's where you start to run into some issues, and you gotta check on your neighbors, those sort of things. Drink plenty of water. If you are going to be out tubing, if you're going to be outside, have the water, have the sunscreen. Be safe. Be safe. And let's fast forward now to the forecast, and I want to take you to Saturday at 5 o'clock. There is a small chance of a few showers working their way into the hill country. It's not a great chance, but it is there. I think most of this stays north of San Antonio. And if you advance the graphic one more time here, as we get into Sunday, we'll take you to Sunday at 4 o'clock, 20% chance of rain. We'll see some showers, maybe a few storms gather north, and some of those can make a run at San Antonio late in the day. But don't get your hopes up. I think most of us stay dry. The chances of rain are really pretty low. And of course, the heat is going to be the big story. 7-day forecast. More heat. We've been at 100 or above every day this month. We keep that trend going. 104 Saturday, 105 Sunday, that would be a record. 104 Monday, 102 Tuesday. Some small chances of rain again mixed in there Sunday. We'll put in a 20% chance on Wednesday as well, but these are not drought-busting rains. We need tropics or something to get going to get some changes around here. But again, we're here at the Guadalupe River. Things aren't great. There is still water here, thankfully. It's just not flowing very well, and unfortunately, looks like the summer is going to be a pretty brutal one for our lakes, streams, and rivers going forward. And by the way, it hasn't been this low since about 2018. We also saw it drop this low in 2014. Drought years. So we know this can happen, and we know that it'll fill back up eventually once we get some of that rain. And I also know that RJ visited the Frio River recently, and I'm wondering if it was the same situation, which I'm guessing it was there, RJ.
To say basically that what you were seeing behind Justin is very similar to what's going on at the Frio right now. And the part that we visited was the dam. It's the most popular swimming area there at the Frio. So there's still water that people
all
can
good.
jump in and
Thank
swim in,
you.
but when it comes to tubing, that's pretty much right now not happening. If you are interested at all into tubing on the Frio River. And it was my first time there to Garner State Park, so I'd never been, but it's just sad to see all of our rivers kind of look this way.
Yeah. How far is the drive to Garner State Park?
So it was about an hour and a half
Okay,
from
so
here.
not too bad.
Yeah, yeah.
I know a lot of people, I mean, Texas, right? Tubing is,
Yeah.
is one of the biggest
Yes, during the summer.
recreational
absolutely. Yeah.
activities.
Yeah, yeah.
So is like the Kamal the only?
The
that
Kamal,
one?
from what Justin and I were talking about yesterday, it's still holding on, so it's still doing pretty well.
I was there
the
like
Kamal.
a month ago.
Yeah. And I guess at many of these rivers, there are still places where you can tube, obviously, but the long stretches of tubing is really where you're going to be mostly affected. But that story we're going to have later today about the Frio River. Justin was up there at the Guadalupe, so yeah, kind of covering all bases here when it comes to our rivers and lakes, and it's just sad to see that out there.
But it is important for people to really realize the magnitude and the impact of this drought. And when it comes to the heat, CPS's reminder to reduce energy use today, especially, is during the hours of 3 to 7 p.m. Another option, of course, is to take advantage of the cooling centers opening up throughout San Antonio.
Yeah, there are more than 20 cooling centers, and they'll stay open into next week to help people get through this dangerous heat that we just talked about, that Justin just mentioned. Again, this is expected to last us through at least Tuesday.
So we have that full list online, and those cooling centers include libraries, senior and community centers. These cooling centers, will be open during regular business hours. So again, go ahead and check out KSAT.com because we have your full list there.
Absolutely. All right, now to this crazy story about the zoo.
Yeah.
Things about to get pretty stinky or stinkier depending on where you are at the zoo. But don't blame it on the animals. Blame it on a single flower. That's right, all eyes on the corpse flower. Yes, the corpse flower that could bloom in the next 10 days.
Yes, the corpse flower. All right.
I was telling Priscilla's
like
filling
a
in today.
commercial.
It sounds like a band, like a rock band. The corpse flower. Boom, boom, boom. No,
And you
okay.
sound like a commercial for that band. All right. The corpse flower is an endangered plant, and this one specifically was gifted to the San Antonio Zoo by the Huntington Library, Art Museum, and Botanical Gardens over in California. So after the flower blooms, the blossoms can last from 1 to 4 days, but it's the scent or the stench that makes this flower so unique.
Yeah, the scent there of this flower, or the stench, as we just said, is allegedly reminiscent of a decaying corpse, which is how it gets its name as the corpse flower. Dun, dun. Okay, sorry. And once it blooms, the zoo will collect pollen and tissue samples for a study that will compare them to other corpse flowers.
You have to say it like that every time, huh? So if you want to see the flower for yourself, smell it for yourself, you'll find it near the Back from the Brink whooping crane habitat over at the San Antonio Zoo.
It's a little smelly there too, from my visits to the zoo as well. So
that's why I say
hopefully
it's
those
going to get stinky.
Yeah, hopefully those smells don't intertwine there. And I think
No, they will. They have to.
They probably will. I think Jonathan Cotto is going to be out there tomorrow morning.
He will be,
Oh,
yes.
so we're going to have to get a report, a first-hand report on the smell or the stench from Jonathan tomorrow. Make sure to check out GMSA.
Yeah, GMSA starts at 5 a.m., correct?
But I think they start at 6.
6 a.m.,
on the
that's right, you
weekends.
clock in at 5
Yeah,
a.m.
there you go,
Oh,
there you
man,
go.
yeah.
So yeah, some pretty cool stuff here. We have a graphic in our web story about this flower. The smelly chemistry of the Titan arum, and again, an odor like dead flesh.
Ew.
Yeah, that face right there.
I mean, I know it's endangered, but still, I wouldn't want to go check it out.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
this will be
Maybe
a very
pictures
interesting.
will do.
There you go. This will be a very interesting weekend at the San Antonio Zoo. Also, Alicia, I want to mention that the Spurs Summer League team starts play today in Las Vegas.
Oh, cool.
Half of the team is under the age of 21, so I'm pretty sure they're going to not. They don't have
That's
to.
a good
not going to be able to
observation.
drink,
That's
not be able to gamble,
right.
so they'll stay out of trouble. Go Spurs, go.
Good for them.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. Well, happy Friday. We will see you Monday at 11 a.m. Be safe and remember to stay cool.